Is the carnivore diet safe? Eating all meat, no carbs, isn't that dangerous? Can you sustain this long term? Are these people crazy? We're gonna answer all of these questions in today's video. Is the carnivore diet safe? Plus some strategies for using something like this, maybe as an elimination diet, to really dial back to the baseline of what foods affect you and figure those out by acting like your own scientist, N equals 1. So we're gonna answer all these questions and more in today's video. Let's get to it. Okay, first things first. There is not one single controlled study that connects meat consumption to cancer or heart disease or any other modern disease such as that. There is not one. So what does that mean? What is all this research that everyone's talking about? It's called epidemiological research. Now, epidemiological research is a wide blanket of a lot of different ways to do things. For the most part, it involves sending questionnaires to people through the US mail, for example, and then having them fill out something like a Scantron with questions such as, how many cups of ribs have you eaten in the past 6 months? What's the average amount of grams or let's say ounces of lean meat that you eat? These are actual questions on actual questionnaires that gets used in actual research and has then been used to fund the dogma and create policy in our country that has basically demonized meat and try to connect it to things that are just non-existent. Now, I'm not gonna go into a lot about why that is today because this video is about, is carnivore diet safe, right? Is meat or an all meat diet safe? Or even an 80% meat diet safe? We're gonna answer that by first dispelling some of the dogmas and calling BS on all the BS that today is used for the public's awareness and the idea that most people think that meat is not good for you. It's all based on really bad, poorly done questionnaires. Somehow questionnaires has been able to be called research, and that is part of the problem. But when it comes to questionnaires, they're not accounting for multiple variables: smoking, activity level, the individual variation from person to person, and what they're actually doing in their life or not doing. There is so many variables and so many ways to live life and so many things that affect health that asking somebody how much meat they consume and then tracking them and asking them again later on how much meat have they consumed and then do they have heart disease or anything like that, that is basically what they've done to correlate meat consumption to heart disease. Well, guess what? Almost all humans, aside from the small percentage of the population that might be a plant-based diet, which might be like 1%, 2 or 3%, almost all humans eat animals. The standard American diet has animal proteins in it, but it also has grains and carbs and all these other things. And then the standard American diet is also consumed by people that smoke a lot, that don't move, that sit at home, that are sedentary, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically saying that because a bunch of people get heart disease and a bunch of people get cancer and almost everyone eats meat, we're gonna say that meat is somehow connected to causing cancer or heart disease. But what about the studies connecting sugar consumption? We can look at the actual data. We can look at the food industry and we can look at the increase in sugar consumption and sugar manufacturing. It basically matches line for line the amount of obesity rates as they've skyrocketed. You can see sugar and sugar next to each other going like this over the past, I would say 60 to 80 years in this country. The average person consumes something like, in fact, let's look it up. So the actual number is about 57 pounds on average sugar consumed each year per person. It says children and teens are particularly at risk. And that's just an average. It's probably even higher for most people. I know that when I was tracking my sugar intake, even when I was trying to stay health conscious and buying at Whole Foods and buying like 80% dark chocolate and doing all these things, I was consuming between 40 and 50 grams a day just in the random convenience foods that I was buying even at a place like Whole Foods. Now imagine the people that are also eating processed grains. That was just fructose consumption. What about the processed grains and the sugar that you find in that, plus the fast digesting carbohydrates that quickly convert to sugar? We're not even accounting for that. So the first most important point to answer the question of whether an all meat diet is safe is there's actually no research that suggests it wouldn't be. To some actual medical disclaimer here. If you are on medications or you've been doing anything with your doctor and you're tracking or trying to do anything, and you're gonna drastically change your diet, meaning you might be eating a lot of carbs today and then you move to a carnivore-based diet overnight to no carbs, well, especially if you're on something like insulin or you have any diabetes issues or anything like that, please consult your doctor if you're making a drastic change. This is more so because of the things that can happen by almost shocking your system. This is not really me saying that you need to ask your doctor because they know best about what you should eat. I'm saying you should ask your doctor to make sure that what you're going to do doesn't affect medications you might be on, or tests you're going to run, or procedures, or anything like that. And even when you do ask your doctor, make sure that you ask a lot of questions and you really inform, because generally doctors don't understand anything about nutrition. That's just the way it is. Doctors do not know anything about nutrition for the most part. Some do, most don't. So you have to be an informed, educated patient, and you have to challenge your doctor. And if you go to him or her and you suggest that you're going to do this elimination diet, maybe you're going to do a carnivore diet, and they start telling you why it's a bad idea, I'm not going to tell you to ignore him or her, because that would be a liability issue, but I'm going to tell you to get a second opinion, and maybe even try to find a holistic doctor or somebody that is already familiar with keto or paleo or real food or Whole30 or any of these things that are in the same realm as a carnivore-based diet. So please consult your doctor if you have something specific and something medical related. If you have medical history, or if you had issues in the past and you're going to do something that's going to drastically change your diet, like completely eliminate carbohydrates, well, yeah, again, maybe you should talk to your doctor about that. That's what I would recommend. And then for the rest of you, we're going to get into number 3 about how you should best approach this. The most important thing with all nutrition is to listen to your body and take things slow. Now, when I say take things slow, I don't mean that if you're eating 100 grams of sugar today, that you should only eat 50 to 75 grams of sugar tomorrow so that you can take it slow. That is complete and utter BS. But I will say, if you're eating a good amount of carbohydrates and you're in the flow of doing that and your body is used to it and you have to work and go to school and do all these things, you might want to dial your carbs back gradually, replace those sugar carbs with maybe like sweet potato or vegetables or other things like that are going to do a lot better for your health. That's what I would recommend under the guise of taking it slow. But if you're eating a standard American diet and you're eating processed grains and sugar and you're drinking soda and all this kind of nonsense, yes, you should stop that tomorrow. Yes, you should stop that tomorrow, 100%. But consider having some of those healthy carbs as a way to help you kind of ease into going to something that is carnivore, or 80% carnivore, or 90% carnivore, which is basically a zero-carb diet, and you're gonna have very, very, very low amounts of carbohydrate. Listen to your body. Give yourself a roadmap to gradually do that. If you want to test going without any carbs for a few days and you don't get anything like keto flu or have any, headaches or anything like that, then that's great. Do that, Make sure you're hydrating. Maybe add a pinch of wild pink salt to your water, get some of those electrolytes in there, and really stay in tune and on top of what you're doing. I should point out, for those of you that may not know this, there are no essential carbohydrates in nature, meaning humans do not have to eat carbohydrates to survive, to thrive even. The same cannot be said for protein and fat. There are essential amino acids and essential fatty acids that you and I have to eat on a regular basis, or we can die. Our body does not produce them. Carbohydrates, on the other hand, can be produced in the body for fuel through the process of ketosis and other processes in the body that has led our species been able to survive in the wild for hundreds of thousands of years when there weren't a lot of carbs in nature, because that's, again, one of those first principles. There are not a lot of carbs in the wild. So you do need certain proteins and you do need certain fatty acids, but you do not need certain carbohydrates. But again, it might be better for you and you might go through less of a detoxification stage if you add carbs in and kind of dial it down slowly. Some of you don't need to do that. Some of you do. This is going to be completely up to you. It would be worth testing. I would definitely try for a couple of days to go with no carbs and just increase your fat intake. Usually if you increase your fat intake and you make sure you're getting enough protein, that will compensate for those carbs that you're not eating. And it's surprising and awesome how powerful the body is. The body can quickly go from being a carb-burning metabolism to a fat-burning metabolism, right? It might take you a day or two to really get into that ketosis fat-burning mode, but when your body gets into that mode, it feels great and it does everything it can to support you because it is the natural way your metabolism is designed. And this leads me to number 4, N equals 1. N is you, right? If you do a study and N is 1,000 people, for example, you're basically studying 1,000 people. You have a large sample size. If it's just you testing yourself, it's just you. It's one person, N equals 1. And when it comes to nutrition and really everything in life, this idea of personal responsibility and taking ownership of your health and then being your own scientist and testing things on your own is of paramount importance. The problem with most diet nutrition recommendations and advice today, and this is even fitness and everything, is You and me are completely different individuals. There's certain things that we're gonna do better on. There's certain foods that we might be allergic to or not allergic to. There's certain things we just prefer or don't prefer, right? There's certain foods I like and you don't like. These all have to be factored in, and it's why the individual, you, have to take ownership of your health and your habits. Find the things that are universal, that are first principles. For example, like fat and protein being ideal, carbs low, sugar terrible for all of us. And then within the realms of those certain first principles of diet and nutrition, you can find your own flavor of it. For example, my version of carnivore right now includes dairy. It includes cheese, and it includes this keto ice cream from this brand Rebel, REBEL, which is just amazing. And I don't know, I'm just like, I'm gonna try to kick it, but right now it's kind of a staple. It's helping me stay on a mostly 80 to 90% carnivore diet. And so I'm using it as a tool to do that. It's also amazing. And I just love ice cream. So it's just one of those things that I found. But for some of you, that might not be practical, right? You might overdo it. You might eat the whole pint at the same time. These are all things that when it comes to your health in your routines, you can't do exactly what I'm doing, and I can't do exactly what you're doing. But you can take the best of what might work for me and maybe even avoid some of the things that don't work for me, like as a test, right? Learn from my experiences, just like I could learn from your experiences. N=1. Taking ownership of your diet and your eating and your lifestyle is the most important thing. There's not going to be a single bar, pill, doctor, program, or coach or trainer that is going to be able to solve your health problems and your nutrition problems. It's going to be you. That's just the way it is. So take ownership, N=1, be your own scientist, experiment on yourself and listen to the feedback and do it over and over and over again. And then you build your health routines through knowledge and through experimentation until you get to that place where you really know how your body works. And that is a really great place to be, I will say. So that is my brief answer to the question, is the carnivore diet safe? I think you can take some of these bits of information and use logic to really make your own informed decision. There's tons of resources online. You can check out the Ancestral Mind podcast. We've had some of the top carnivore experts in the field over at theancestralmind.com, or just type in the Ancestral Mind on iTunes, Spotify, or Google under the podcast section, and you will find us. I highly recommend checking that out. We go super into the weeds, into some of the science and some of the even logic around a carnivore diet. And you can look at my other videos as well if you want to learn more about why the carnivore diet might be the best diet for humans, at least as the baseline, where the idea of the carnivore diet comes from, how it's based on our ancestral past, etc., etc., etc. I have tons of videos on this, and I plan to do a lot more, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn that bell on so that you and I can engage in the future, and then I can help you and answer questions and coach you along the way. Really, the way I look at YouTube is I'd like to get you into with one video, I'd like you to see the rest, and then I'd like you to follow along as you're up to date and really help coach you along the way, because even as I'm evolving and the different videos that I get to do, I want to share that with you. And every video I do, everything I learn that I can share with you, the better I am and the better hopefully you will be as well. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you have any questions on this, if you have any comments on this, if you have any experiences with the carnivore diet, drop them below in a comment. Let me know what you've experienced, any hurdles you might have run into. I have other videos on why the carnivore diet is a really great elimination diet tool, which I didn't get into a lot today, but basically you can use it to eliminate a lot of the plant foods and dairy and things like rice and things like that, and then you can introduce them slowly, a little bit at a time, to see how your body responds. But you have to really get down to a baseline, and you have to remove those foods to be able to understand how they really affect you. Most people walk around like sick zombies and basically get headaches, don't sleep well, are insulin resistant, are overweight or obese, and don't really know the difference between anything and how it affects them, whether it's their sleep, their food, their stress, their relationships. Getting to carnivore as a baseline is a really smart thing to do to really dial in your health. And what we've noticed is a lot of people that are on a carnivore diet, even if it's as a test or as a temporary thing, they tend to stay on it. And that's what I've been experiencing myself for sure. So that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.